So let's see how they enjoy drafting. So they first picked the LeBlanc, but this doesn't really make as much sense, right? Because I feel like they first picked LeBlanc, which was already planned, but why would they third ban Lee Sin in that case? Because what they could have done instead is, I mean, I think the Lee Sin is probably higher priority, but you could have just taken the LeBlanc B1 still, left them to see if they maybe take Lee Sin, and then easily counter it, because you have LeBlanc in mid lane. So, unless they pick like a Lissandra, which I'd like to see them do now, I think overall, it's just not as good as first pick. So see, now you get the Xin Zhao, which, I mean, they could have also just taken the Xin Zhao first and then gone something like the Lissandra. It still gives very good setup in lane if you want to gank it, but it also completely shuts out LeBlanc. It's a very bad matchup for her. So we have the Xin Zhao coming in. So this is on patch 1.15 still. So and this is where Xin Zhao is very heavily favored towards the overall game. So let's see what they want to pick here. I mean, to be honest, they want to just counter LeBlanc. Lulu, I guess that does kind of counter LeBlanc to some degree. If they want to play it in a solo lane as well, it can be potentially good, but I'm not sure they're going to play it in a solo lane. Olaf, okay, so Beijing is very good at Olaf, and Olaf is one of the champions that, again, when it comes to objective control, is very, very hard to beat. Now, the downside to that is Olaf is in a kind of position where if he falls behind, it's very difficult for him to come back, but he used to be known for his unique kind of clear and the fact that it was just so fast to full clear everything. But now we can see that he's kind of fallen off with other champions like Diana just coming in and just clearing better. But they also chose a Trundle here, so I'm curious to see if this is actually maybe an Olaf top, which I don't think so, or maybe even a Trundle support, which can be okay, but it's into a Lulu. Not quite sure if that would be into that, unless they've got information that this Lulu wants to go into a solo lane, which would then make a bit of sense. Kennen, I think Kennen's a very, very strong pickup. And it's also good into both Olaf and Trundle if they do want to flex them into top, so like either of them. So it's actually really good. So I actually like what EDG did with this R3 pick. It countered basically 2 out of 3 of what they'd already chosen. GP banned away, so they're just trying to find good matchups for this Kennen right here. Probably expect maybe something like the Camille banned as well, just because they can actually get on top of him. Oh wait, Camille's already banned in R2, sorry, so that's already gone. So they were already looking for something like this Kennen, I think, in our draft. Rakan ban, so which means, yes, they have information that this Lulu is going to be going into a solo lane, which, you know, is a possibility, but they're just banning the Rakan just in case. Because obviously this Xin is going to be unkillable, and whatever ADC they choose, if they have that Rakan as well. Last bans, I mean, on red side, we're looking to just really get rid of anything that could potentially skirmish with Xin, which, you know, Cliss at some degree. I could agree with that. She's pretty good. Now, blue team are looking for just, I mean, their draft is very weak right now. Like, their draft is very weak in comparison. So now they're looking for something that they can shut down, like a hyper carry ADC. So maybe like an Aphelios ban would be really, really good here. Oh, it's already banned. I'm sorry, I'm inting. My bad. So Braum, I don't really think they should have focused the Braum there, like banning the Braum, because I mean they do want to go in, but Olaf can, you know, like just keep going anyway, and LeBlanc can get a good kind of side angle. So I think the Braum ban, it works because Braum is so good, but overall I don't like it as much. So now they're looking for, I don't think Varus is the play here. Like, Varus is not the play. This is really bad. Unless they send Lulu support now with the Varus, that could be okay if he's going for on-hit just because they're very short range. But then how is he ever going to function in this game against the LeBlanc, even if she kind of gets ahead a little bit? Hey, how's it going, Abdul? I'm doing good. What about you, bro? So, yeah, I really don't like this Varus. I would have liked to see anything except Varus, like a hyper carry. I'd love to have seen Jinx here. Like, I think if they would have taken a Jinx here and then counter pick support in last pick, they have a Jinx that has a Kennen, a Lulu, and then this Xin Zhao doesn't really need to carry as far into the game as he will do with a Varus. So, I think this Varus pick is completely grief. Like, it's very bad. Like, he could go on hit, don't get me wrong, but okay, now they pick up the Ashe, which is going to be very, very good, like, in the mid-game against him. I mean, if they go the Kai'Sa here and she manages to get on top of him, they are a full short-range comp, so they are looking to fully go in, so the Kai'Sa does actually make sense, especially because she can go full AD here without really worrying. One of the things with Kai'Sa is if you're against kind of like tanks or bruisers, you want to kind of itemize a bit more into ability power, because that enhances your passive, which allows you to deal with them tanks. Especially if you've got something like PD second as well, you can completely blow somebody up as soon as they kind of start walking into your comp. So this actually allows Kai'Sa to go full AD here, because they've got no real tanks, which they're going to go with Ashe anyway. I mean, Ashe is a better pick. I hope they go with Ashe. I mean, Ezreal is very bad here. Very bad. Oh, no. Now, where is it? Like, I mean, their comp wants different things now. At least if they go Ashe, they have an ultimate to lock somebody up, which then means the rest of them can run down. Olaf can get a Q on them. LeBlanc can get chains. It sets up for the game extremely well. Whereas going with this Ezreal now, yes, they're going to have poke, and they're going to be able to poke them out, and then kind of follow up with the all-in, but I just really think it wasn't worth taking the Ezreal here. I think Ashe would have been infinitely better. So now, I mean, this Trundle is still probably support, which means now he's going to roam about as much as he can, which, you know, can be potentially good. Or they might just pick a support here, send Olaf or Trundle top lane. Now, both Olaf and... Now, the thing is, they're in a very, very rough point. And if I was a coach here, I'd realise that I've really fucked up. Because they have a very kind of... the comp wants to go in. They've got an Ezreal that doesn't make sense. But this Kennen completely counters both of the potential top laners they have. So the only real thing they can look to do now is... they can't put either of these top. So now this has to be jungle. Sorry, I think the Trundle has to go support and just roam off, and the Olaf has to go jungle. And now the best option they have is to draft something that will beat Kennen top lane here. Like, that's the only way they can potentially win this. I mean, this is really bad, because right here, where are they playing for? Where are they playing for? They're going to be playing 2v2 mid jungle, but what they can do here is, if they are going to be taking this on hit Varus, they can put Lulu with it, which makes on hit Varus better, and now they just pick a mid lane that can get rid of the pressure from this 2v2. Again, LeBlanc here is a very, very good pickup. I don't think they're going to do it. They're probably going to put Lulu mid still and then take something else support. Yeah, Leona. Great pick, don't get me wrong, but I feel like if Varus is going to go with this on hit, which he can because they're all very short range, especially if this LeBlanc doesn't get ahead. But this LeBlanc is going to get ahead through this 2v2 with either Olaf or Trundle in mid lane. And, you know, I don't really think it's too great. Now here, it's like, ooh, this is over. This game is already won. I already know who's going to win this game. Like, not because I've seen the result, because this draft is so poor from WE, it's unreal. Like, they have a strong 2v2 mid, but, I mean, you know, it's Lulu. She can give up farm, it doesn't matter. She can build Moonstone. It literally doesn't mean shit. Well, maybe sure it is this game for the movement speed. But we end up in this position now where this draft is just so much infinitely better. Like, I do not see at what point they're going to come back. I don't see where they're going to play around. Like, I do think this draft had some really big errors, don't get me wrong. If this Varus does go poke, like lethality, then okay, I'm wrong. But I still think maybe counter-picking that mid matchup and shutting down their entire comp here would have just been better. So let's actually jump into the gameplay. Let's see what they do with this. I don't know how WE are going to navigate this game whatsoever. I think they're completely doomed from draft. This is a massive coach difference game. But, so, in terms of jungle, I think the Olaf is going to start blue, like, and just path towards bot, even though he has that Ezreal. His clear is slightly faster with blue because of the haste. And also, you know, Mundo will never need him to come to lane. The point of Mundo in this game is to just not die, which, you know, we can do very well. In terms of bot lane, again, they're very weak. I mean, they don't really have any hard CC. Trundle Pill are great, but I don't think that's going to be enough to allow them to get on top of a Leona and Varus, unless they wait for the Leona to engage. They did manage to get this Raptor ward, which is really good. It means that they're going to see the pathing of the Olaf. But the Olaf has decided to come down to red, unless he's going to sweep this and gift it, but no. Okay, he's going to solo start chickens, which this is completely grief because they've just got a red ward. So EDG have just got a ward on Raptor Camp, which they saw because the LeBlanc had vision of the Lulu when she placed it, and now he's starting there, which on the one hand is, I mean, it's completely terrible. I mean, Alternatively now, it means that, you know, they're not going to know where the Olaf is after this camp because he's already cleared it away and he can dodge the vision to move. So, but the thing is, this stops the Xin Zhao being able to actually go and take away any of the camps in his top side, but overall it's fine. I mean, for some reason they warded Krug camp. Xin Zhao's never really going to do Krug camp in this game. He wants to gank with level 3 as soon as possible. He's going to go blue buff here and then Gromp. And then he's going to potentially look to force something on bot lane. Again, you can see this matchup. LeBlanc really, really struggles into Lulu due to the fact that Lulu has shields to kind of block a lot of her poke. And Lulu does a lot of damage in the solo lane too. So she's going to struggle, especially because it's very hard to ever get an angle as LeBlanc into Lulu because she can put picks on a minion and then use Q to kind of get them from weird angles. So I don't see this LeBlanc doing much in terms of this game. Like, she's really not going to do anything, and this 2v2 is already shut out. So Scout has actually managed to shut the 2v2 down with Lulu anyway. So, I mean, it's kind of good. Again, Scout is a very, very talented player, so I feel like it's a shame seeing him on a support. But if he can play it better than, you know, if it fits the comp, I still think it's great. So here, again, so I really think the Trundle into Leona is a very, very good matchup. I'm gutted that the Trundle didn't go Halo Blades, because Halo Blades allows you to get a very, very fast trade-off, because your Q is an auto-attack reset, which means Halo Blades procs for an extra proc, which is very, very good. So I think going into this would have been much better. At level 6, this Trundle can completely run down Leona because of his ultimate, but we'll see what happens until then. So Varus has gone with this longsword, so like we predicted in draft, he is going for this on-hit build since he's getting longsword now so that he can reset early for a vampiric. It's very nice to see that he's prioritizing going for a component item rather than a starting item. So I really, really like to see that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. Like, I don't know. I just feel like the reason he's got Guardian here is more so because maybe he doesn't know the matchup as well. I mean, actually, no, that can't be. It's Leona. He's got to know it, but I don't know. Maybe this was just before the whole Halo Blades Trundle support thing kind of popped off. So this is one thing I really hate to see, that this LeBlanc has just used her teleport to come to mid lane. Now, unfortunately, she does kind of have to, because otherwise this wave is just going to keep pushing into Lulu, and maybe she actually... I mean, nice big trade. Lulu kind of griefed here. So right now, what Lulu needs to be doing is, instead of trying to force this wave in, she needs to take a step back, wait for a little bit, wait for this Leona to come to the row mid to fix the wave, and then as soon as Leona comes and fixes this wave, then she can reset, spend her gold, and then continue playing this lane. The Dark Seal early I do like to see. So we can see that Leona actually coming to save this lane right now, which is very, very good to see. She doesn't really need to worry about getting a... Oh, this is... I mean, LeBlanc pushed the wave back, so I guess Leona doesn't have to show, but it would have been nice to see this Leona come, help bounce the wave in, and Lulu reset for gold. I don't know exactly how much Lulu has right now. Maybe she doesn't actually have that much gold, in which it would be the correct play, so... So I just saw Leona try and engage on an Ezreal, which is not a good sign. Just because you're never going to get that. His E goes through no matter what. So he's always going to be able to E away from you. So it's kind of just bad, like, all around. So this top matchup, though, obviously this is how this top match is going to go. What? Oh, okay. Is that music loud? So, I mean, like I said, this is how this top matchup is going to go. Let me just... So... That'll do, even though it's quiet. So, we have a Iron Spike Whip and Spike on Olaf right now in comparison to Xin Zhao's pickaxe. So this was a very, very bad gank. Like, Kennen with 6, it's just not going to happen. Now, this is one thing that I like, though, that his focus switched to the Dr. Mundo more. One of the biggest mistakes that a lot of laners do in all elos is the jungle will come to gank and they'll focus on hitting the jungle even though they don't have enough damage to hit them. And this ends up putting them in a situation where they end up with less HP from the gank in comparison to their opposing laner. So it's nice to see that he was trading damage back on that Dr. Mundo. So right now we have a gold lead in top. We have basically dead even jungle mid almost. And we have a slight lead in bot lane for EDG. So nothing crazy has happened yet. Nothing insane. But they are looking for a potential dive down here. Now, WE do know this is coming, but this has been a very, very slow game, especially for China. I do think the draft diff is, like I said, way too big. But, I mean, WE are holding out. Now, the thing is, WE are more forced to try and force something rather than hold it out. Because they do have Olaf and a LeBlanc right now. So, they do really need to start the ball rolling. Especially so that LeBlanc can get to that kind of damage spike where she gets triple pen. So, yeah, junglers will literally just hit full heal. So... No. Okay, so really big amount of poke onto Scout. Unfortunately, it isn't really going to matter. She has a ton of regen. Now, she has a shit ton of biscuits just sat in her inventory, unused. I swear, if she sells these, I'm going to be very, very sad. Lulu just needs to use them for pressure. She's got a Corrupting Pot as well. So, the amount of mana that she has in a build right now means that she can, you know, she's never really in a dangerous position. The Trundle trying to force to hold this wave. I think he does actually manage to get one of them casters held. Yeah, no, all three. I thought this one would be slightly too close, but he actually managed to hold all three casters there, which is really, really nice to see. It means that the Ezreal can come back to a slow push instead of... he can control his slow push instead of it instantly bouncing off tower and coming back. So that's really, really nice to see too. So they're trying to contest this blue. I think EDG are actually in a position they can contest this just because they have Leona coming too. Trundle has also rotated, so this is kind of funny in a way because they've sent 4 people to contest the blue buff, which I feel like we didn't see this in the previous FPX game where they're so willing to just throw everything for a fight. And I think this is one of the kind of things that China is unique for, in the fact that they will literally just go for fights all the time. They will just try over and over and over. And this is where the Ezreal comes in as well, because Ezreal can stay and farm this lane without being in any danger whatsoever for the entire game. So they're just going to back off now. They're going to... I mean, are they going to force this Herald? So Scout is still in. Like, this is complete grief. Because right here, instead of staying in for this, like, all he has to do is back away. I mean, he is level 8 to their level 5 and 7, but he is still a Lulu, so he is still very, very squishy. So this is bad. I feel like this is somewhat miscommunication. I feel like he was trying to deny them the ability to walk up to this objective, but instead of doing it here in the open, he should have been sitting on this control wall where they have vision denial, and then just waiting for them to come here and harassing them here. This will also mean that potentially LeBlanc goes to lane, and maybe just the Trundle and the... the Trundle will just walk up alone and then maybe die, but I feel like fighting them 1v2 here when the Herald is the clear play, especially in 9 minutes, getting that Herald really, really important. It's just not good. Like, I feel like this was a very, very big miscommunication from the team. Let me just log this. Let me just... so, miscommunication. We'll just put that in the notes so that we can remember it, and we'll put the notes fresh so that we can remember them as we go through. So we can see LeBlanc getting a little bit of poke on these Xin Zhao. It isn't really going to matter because he does have that healing. But let's just go back for a second, because how did this prio swap to WE manage to get prio over the Herald? I'm pretty sure it's because the Lulu died, right? So the fact that, yeah, the fact that she died there just gave them the ability ability to go for this Herald for free, which is really bad because Herald is so important at this stage of the game, especially if you get it this early, because you've got 4 minutes that you can decide what you want to do with it, which is very, very good. Okay, so they've committed a TP, so this is actually going to be very heavy in EDG's favor because they've got resets if they want to fight, but they don't. They just take the objective and they just back away. So they already lost the objective, so this was actually a very bad TP from Scout because the objective was already gone. He needed to either be sooner or just not at all. Like, knowing when to just give an objective is very, very important. I feel like that was a very, very emotional TP. Okay, so that's just a little replay of what happened there. To be honest, it was just Lulu getting caught out for no good reason whatsoever. So let's continue now. Kennen is on a really big spike again. Soak Boots and Alternator is such a huge spike, and his colour is fully cashed as well, which means he's got that, I think it's like 180, 200 gold bonus, which is very, very nice. I mean, it's not a massive amount, but if you know you're just going to be farming anyway, it's always, you know, a potentially good buy. So he's backed away from that tower, which is very good. They're going to Herald top, just drop it down. Again, this virus is going to be pumping out a massive amount of damage later on into this game. We've got a second dragon as well on the side of EDG, which it is a Cloud Soul, which again is very, very sad. But now the main person in this game that this Cloud Soul is going to be very good for is going to be a combination of the Olaf and the Dr. Mundo, because once they both pop their ult, movement speed is very, very beneficial on them. Whereas in terms of EDG side, the only real person that's going to use it is Kennen, which again is going to be nice, but Kennen's looking to just get in with his ultimate, and then Zhonya's in the middle of a 5-man fight. So it's not going to matter as much on him either, it's just going to allow him to reposition a bit better. It's also going to allow him to catch the Ezreal too, which is going to be quite beneficial. Although I think in terms of the souls, they really did get gypped a bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw EDG here give away some of these dragons in order to get pressure at other points on the map, especially around this Baron right now. But it is very nice from Gigi to be going for these dragons straight away when he's playing Xin Zhao, which is a very early game pick, especially into an Olaf as well. So the fact that he's finding these openings to go for it means that he's playing very well, but also the Beijing is a little bit iffy. Although Beijing is very good at these kind of objective steals and these high pressure environments. So this is something that I think we're going to end up seeing in games like this. So they managed to get a nice pick. They get the Trundle's flash, not as important as maybe another one of their carries, but Trundle is very low in terms of levels due to the fact that he's support, and his gold income is very lacking too, although it doesn't matter as much because he can use his ult. This is actually a very good TP flank in from Mundo here, and this could be very bad for EDG. Now, if they just get these kills and then leave, so right here they need to just leave. Don't continue contesting, okay? This is nice. So this was very good by WE to just capitalize on this and just punish them for walking into a really bad situation. Now, this given them not a gold lead, but it's, you know, it's brought the gold back, so it's now more of an even state. But, you know, we do still have these two very valuable dragons coming in from the side of EDG. So that 6% resistance increase is going to be huge. So we're just waiting to see some resistances coming now for the Leona and the Xin Zhao, and then we're going to see that Mountain Dragon really come into effect, because they're going to get 6% on top of everything that they already have, and this is why Mountain Dragon is really, really valuable. That's 6%, especially if you... So the thing you have to realize about resistances is that the lower levels of resistances, they're actually worth more because they give you more damage reduction, whereas when you start stacking it up, you get way, way less because it's diminishing returns. What this means is for champions that don't really build much in terms of resistances, if they get even a little bit when they've got plenty of damage to team fight and win the fights, what ends up happening is this mountain ends up giving them a small bonus of 6%, but this 6%, when they're low on resistances anyway, will actually give them a very, very, very high amount of damage reduction. So it's very, very good that they've got that, and, you know, that's going to really keep them in it a little bit more now. So we see Varus get this tower. This is fine. I mean, this does unlock the lane for Ezreal too, which means he can just freeze the wave back now and make some of this gold up. He is already on his one item too, so, you know, he's not massively behind in terms of gold. 500 because Varus hasn't reset yet. But, you know, I mean, one kill and he could still potentially come back, especially if he manages to get a shutdown. So some stats, we don't really care much for them. So the thing is, it's very, very hard for Mundo to ever get this tower. And I'm glad that Mundo actually chose to reset here and get tempo. Otherwise, Kennan's just going to walk up to his tower and just take it all. Like, he's just going to completely one-shot his tower. So Xin Zhao has his gold drinker now as well, which means he's going to be extremely tanky in these fights. Scout actually manages to get out nice. There's another thing with Lulu and the Shurelias, like I previously mentioned. Like, it's very hard to ever catch anybody on this team. So even though this team has a very kind of, we're going to run into you and kind of do a ton of damage, very hard for them to actually do it because they have this Lulu with Shurelias. It's going to just keep eating people over and over. She's going to end up getting a Putrefier first item after a Mythic, which is going to be amazing. Now, one thing we do see here is Breeze just dies. For no reason. I think Ezreal, there was just no point in it. Like, it was never going to achieve anything. It's just really bad. I mean, maybe he was using it for vision, but... So, one thing we do see here, though, is LeBlanc is actually on her lethality spikes. Not lethality, sorry, magic pen spikes in both Ludens and Sword Boots. That's going to give her a very substantial amount. So right now she's on about 24 magic pen. And as soon as she gets another item, she goes up to 29. It's very, very OP. Now this is really, really a shame for her though, because she's going for Oblivion Orb for no reason. Like, Oblivion Orb is just so bad here. Because what you can do is you can get to that 29, and then you can also get Medjais with your stacks. And then even if you don't quite get the 100% gold value out of Medjais, it's okay because it's a legendary item, which gives you an extra proc of the magic pen from Ludens, which then ends up with you doing 34 magic pen, which is enough to break through almost anybody's magic resist in the game, except for people like Talon. Talon's an exception. He has about 39 magic resist, so you still wouldn't break through that, but you're still doing very close to true damage. So going for this Oblivion Orb is very bad because, again, like we previously mentioned, in the last series that we saw with Tarzan, Tarzan was kind of the main ability power on the team in the Nidalee jungle, and he didn't really have anybody else that was ability power in the team. So he, you know, it's very, very bad when you see mages being the only AP, being very fed, and then going for a defensive item, going for Oblivion Orb here, which he's going to turn that into a Morello's. Like, it's just not good because the Grievous wounds don't matter as much if you can just one-shot someone, which she can very easily do if she gets that Void Staff and then Medjais too. Which she does have 4 stacks right now, so as long as she plays safe, I mean, she is playing LeBlanc, it's very hard to actually catch a LeBlanc. I think that would have been very, very beneficial. But here, I think she's very much griefing this game. Very much, in my opinion. So one thing we are really looking for now is how WE are going to try and push this lead that LeBlanc has. The fact that she's already got this is impressive. So Shanks, you know, is I'm somewhat impressed with how he's playing this game, considering the situation he's been put into with this comp, and the fact that WE's comp has no kind of no real way they want to play. They don't really have, like, they have nobody to put resources around. At this point, they'll lose a team fight. And, you know, it's going to be very hard. Varus is on his 2-item spike now with his Shield Bolt and Wit's End. Very, very good combo, and it's extremely effective this game due to the fact that Mundo does some magic damage, LeBlanc is very fed doing magic damage, and Ezreal does a little bit as well, and I think Trundle does a bit too. So all around they do have a good mix of magic damage, and their main fed kind of member is a magic damage dealer. Now, by going Wit's End here, it means that, you know, that penetration factor that we previously mentioned is no longer applicable because she's not going to be doing true damage to him because he's got Wit's End, which gives a considerable amount of magic resist. So right here, actually, we've managed to find a pick. So Missing got picked for no good reason. They're committing a lot to it with this LeBlanc. Leona. They do manage to get it, and now they're going to look to continue going on the LeBlanc. Maybe no, Zin doesn't want to jump to it. So maybe they're just going to try and isolate. in these kind of situations, what I want to see from a team, never mind. There's a Olaf managed to get the Scuttle Crab, so they can't really sneak Baron. Although what they could actually do here is as soon as they get this kill on the Trundle, what they should have looked to do is come 5-man mid, get this wave pushed in, and then what they could have even done is use this Blast Cone to 5-man over with a control ward in there, and then maybe just look to rush Baron that way. And I think maybe they could have had a really good opportunity for it, because Xin Zhao does a massive amount of damage to Baron early because he builds a lot of AD. We have Varus, who's going to be doing a massive amount because he's got a Lulu as well to buff him. Kennen does a decent amount as well. Baron has less magic resist than it does armor, so that's very, very good there too. And then Leona can also tank it very easily. And the reason why this is important is because Leona will take the Baron's Gaze. Now, Baron's Gaze reduces the damage that you do to the Baron by 50% if you're the one tanking. So if you have, say, the Varus tanking, the Baron is going to be significantly slower. 50% slower from just his damage. So what you can do is you can use the Leona as just a tank. And she's just going to soak up all of that Baron damage. And she's going to pop off from that. So again, we are kind of seeing EDG's comp really coming into kind of its element here. Like I previously mentioned, they are just going to give these dragons. There's no real need for them to actually go for them right now. Just because, you know, like I said, they have a long time till Soul, and it's not like they benefit massively from their ults, because again, like the buff the dragon gives, it's only ultimate haste, so it's kind of a case of it's a bit irrelevant and doesn't really do as much, because all the other dragons give you pure stats or sustain, whereas that just gives you the ability to use an ult on a lower cooldown, which, unless you're a team that's very, very far ahead, snowballed, and you're just looking to use your ultimates multiple times in one extended team fight, then it's not really going to do that much. So EDG are just going to get the dragon here because there's not really much else for them to do, and they're now in a winning position. So the way that their team comp is now kind of working, they have 2 items on their mid, who is a support, so it doesn't really matter as much. They have 2 items on their AD, which is their main damage dealer because he's on hit. So, and we have Kennen for kind of creating as much space as possible. So what we actually find in this situation is that we can get these dragons now because EDG are in a position where they're ready to go for the Elder Soul. So because they're ready for the Elder Soul to close the game out, it's actually completely fine. So this is, if I'm EDG in this position, I am very, very happy. I'm very happy. So WE are kind of griefing here though. Now the Kennen's kind of griefing a little bit. Now what Kennen has done, which I mean it's okay. It's okay. Now what he's done is he's actually left one wave. And what he's going to do is he's going to rotate now, and he's going to let this wave slow push in so that when they win this fight, he's confident they'll win it. When they win the fight, then they go straight into Baron. Now, one of the big things that you can do here as well to save your TP is you can take this one step further, and what you can do is you can kill off all of the caster minions in this wave, but only leave the melees. Now, the thing with this is if, say, you've got 3 casters and 3 melees on both sides, what's going to happen is this wave obviously doesn't really move anywhere. Now the fact that it's here means that this wave is going to get reinforced first, and when it gets reinforced it's going to have more damage than this, because this wave is still going to be way back here, like it's still going to be at this point because it's parallel on the map. So what you end up happening here is this wave is going to slow push, but you can take it one step further because these melees are basically the main tanks. They have 3 times or almost 3 times the amount of HP that the casters have, but the casters do all the damage. They have over double the damage that the melees do. So what ends up happening is if you clear off these casters here, these melees are still going to tank the wave for just as long, which is going to leave this, it's going to give time for another one to reinforce, and then when it comes, because there's no damage in this wave, these 3 melees are going to be very, very healthy, which is extremely powerful, because what you do in kind of one of these big strategical plays here is you keep these as healthy as possible. Then what happens is this wave pushes in, you get a good fight, you get Baron, and then by the time you've done Baron, the wave is stacked up against this tower, you can TP to it and then use Baron in order to get this inhib as well based on recall timers or respawn timers. So that's a potential play you can make based on the timing of overall what you are looking to do. And that's something that I wish they would have looked more towards this game. It's still good though. It's still going to be a slow push. It's still going to be great. And they're still going to be denying minions from the enemy. And you know, Kennen's managed to come. Now, there is also an argument that Kennen should have just kept farming, got prio, and then maybe looked to TP to Baron while they come for him. But, you know, they don't really have much vision in this bottom side of the jungle to facilitate this Kennen with this slow push. So it's a little bit risky for them to do that. Okay, so we have a big fight here. Leona manages to get a pick. LeBlanc jumps in, does a massive amount of damage, but Maiko jumps on top of him again. Now, again, this pick, the amount of CC that Leona does means that if she gets a pick, then it's usually going to be good. Zin's out ease to a minion, so he gets away, and now he's going to be able to just heal 2 full off the Baron, which they should look to force here, since the enemy only has that blue ward and no jungler. So they should be looking to force. Kennen has his Maelstrom up as well, so he can just ult the entire team if they do kind of walk up, and they have a control ward in this brush. So what they should be looking to do is sit in this brush as a Kennen, clear this away, pummel down on this, and then as soon as they come up, Kennen engage, and then they follow up, especially once Kennen gets that kind of that stun off with his ultimate. Then Varus can just ult on top of that, which is then going to mean Leona can ult on top of that, and we can kind of start to see there where this team comp becomes very, very strong. Now, this was very bad that the Zin just stayed. You just shouldn't. You should have just reset, because they're not going to threaten Baron here anyway, and they have vision of if they do. LeBlanc is just going to clear that pink ward out now, and they've basically lost all of the agency that they had around this Baron, and they didn't even clear away this blue ward. So the enemy team actually knows right now that they don't have any wards on Baron, which is very beneficial for them. Now again, they're very, very ahead on the mid lane, but she's got this Morello's, which is restricting a massive amount of her damage. She is still going to be one-shotting people, but, you know, nowhere near as easily. So she's going into the Void Staff now, though, which is good. She's still going to get that pen spike, which is very, very good to see. But I would very much like to see, after she's got this Void Staff, that she's got 8 or 9 stacks and she just instantly goes into the Medjais for the added pen and the very cheap item. And then what you do as LeBlanc is you just go around getting one-shots over and over. But this is also kind of nice to see in a way, because this goes to show that WE's mid Shanks is actually extremely good on this LeBlanc, in the fact that they can B1 it, accept a bad matchup, and they can still get this far ahead. So this is actually very, very impressive from him, and I haven't actually heard of him before, but I haven't really focused too much on China in the past, so. So now they're just looking to kind of force fights. This LeBlanc is looking to try and get a flank wherever possible. Especially if you can flank on this Zin. They really need to get a kill to deny EDG from getting this soul. Now, we can see this amount of damage. Now, this is very, very sad to see, because we've said this all game, and I know we've droned on a little bit from it, but imagine if she didn't have Morello's here. The Xin Zhao has no opportunity to hit her back and heal whatsoever, because it's just a very large amount of burst. So right here, if she just had better items, she would have been able to one-shot him, which then could have led into a Cloud Dragon, and then maybe even a Baron as well. So, it's very sad to see that happen. Beijing gets a kill though, which is very good. And now they just get this dragon. So they still get the dragon, which is nice, but again, there's still very clear mistakes that can be abused and can be punished. If this Xin why is Xin ever spacing here? Like, at all. Like, it's just really grief when he's against a LeBlanc. He just shouldn't be spacing by that. Especially, you know, since this Trundle Pillar Slow is also there too, so it's very, very grief. Very grief. So, we do see a zombie ward on Varus as well, which I really like to see. I think zombie ward is very, very good. I mean, although Eyeball Collection is going to give you nearly 2 kills worth of gold from it, just in the AD that gives, I still think that zombie ward is so influential and competitive, because everybody's going to be warding properly. Now, this Ezreal has actually got quite a fat bounty too, and this game is going to come down to if the Varus and the Kennen can kill the LeBlanc and the Ezreal. If they can, then I think this is still very, very kind of straightforward for them to win, to be honest. Okay, so far, this has seemed very, very close. I mean, the goal difference has been almost dead even for the entirety of this game, I feel. It's just a few really bad mistakes, especially from Xin Zhao to get caught by LeBlanc twice in a row. That's really, really kind of stunted EDG's snowball. Now, again, like I previously said, I don't really think this is going to matter too much. They're very, very strong. We've got a TP flank coming in from the cannon, so he's going to be looking to get behind. Unfortunately, I think they do spot it. And the Cannon's ult is a massive whiff. And the Varus ult. Oh, that's very sad to see. They just had a potential good flank. If Cannon would have just come through this way instead and maybe tried to block him off here, much better. But I think they had information of him TPing there. Very sad to see. They still haven't cleared this this trinket ward out, which is painful because until they clear this trinket out, then they're just going to know permanently if Baron is warded. So it's crazy that EDG are getting very, very lazy when it comes to very lazy vision control. Very, very lazy. Right, so what are they going to be looking to do? Now, again, I still think, I mean, I'm going to be eating my words if WE win this, but I still really don't think they can. I really don't think they can. Even with these leads, I think it's only a matter of time before this LeBlanc gets shut down, loses all her stacks. Again, she's going another defensive item. Like, why? She's going into a Banshee's last item now. I mean, the thing is, if you get hit by 1 CC, like, you're going to get hit by 50,000. So it kind of makes sense, but I just don't like seeing a LeBlanc that is going to be the main carry in this game not being able to blow people up, especially when Xin Zhao gets some magic resist, which I hope to God he does here. I'd even like to see something like a Gargoyles come out of the Xin Zhao just to allow him to survive as long as possible. But the reason why Gargoyles is very good this game is because he has a Gore Drinker. It means that the Spike passive, which is 15% additional AD, if you're, I think it's 30% HP, what you can do is you can stay on that 30% HP, use Gargoyles for the shield, keep that massive AD boost, and then as soon as that Gargoyle shield is gone, you can E into an entire team, use your Gore Drinker, and then just instantly ult them away, and then you end up with full HP, you've maybe even one-shot someone, and you end up basically being able to completely take over the fight even at this stage, and this is one of the things that keeps Xin Zhao relevant even later on into the game. So we get a Varus ult here, but nobody follows up on it, which is kind of sad. I mean, it is on a Trundle, so he could instantly ult, so I don't think it's the correct person for him to be ulting anyway, especially considering they're coming up into this massive choke point now where they're going to be fighting for this soul. So I really think Varus wasting his ult here to try and CC a Trundle is completely grave. Like, it's very bad. I don't know why Viper did that. Okay. So, nice big Ezreal. This is really good. Xin Zhao completely griefing though. Like, now they have to just back away from this. Which isn't the end of the world because it is only a third dragon. They just need to leave. This is so bad. Oh, maybe they win it. This was actually so smurfed by Leona, actually. I take that back. Like, Leona stunned LeBlanc instantly and even used their ult to where LeBlanc needed to jump back to. So LeBlanc just completely hard carried this fight actually, and it's really good actually because they also get that LeBlanc shutdown too, which is huge. So now they get the soul and the LeBlanc shutdown. So like I said, it's just a matter of time before this team comp actually manages to just outclass them in almost every way, to be honest. Like, because now they've got this bounty on. I mean, Lulu's huge. She's on a coming into her third item now, which she has a stopwatch, so maybe she's gonna look for that Zhonya's and just try and kind of tank a lot of the damage from the LeBlanc. Now they're just going to walk up and start doing Baron, I guess. I don't think this is good. It's 50-50, and they're against Beijing, who is known for stealing objectives, and he does have Flash, Smite, and E available. So Xin Zhao cannot burst enough with his Q because it's physical damage to outsmite this. So we might see a steal. Yep, so see, we see the steal come in because against an Olaf you can't 50-50 like that because his E is true damage, and when you're trying to kind of take objectives as a jungler, you're looking for the burst that you as a jungler can do to it, because if your team bursts it, that's very unstable, whereas in Zhao he can burst it against other kind of physical damage dealers at some degree. Like, he can't against, say, a Lee Sin unless he times it right and Lee Sin gets his Q blocked. But with Olaf, he can instantly flash in, he can use his E and his Smite together, and it ends up with a much higher true damage amount than what Xin can ever put out with his physical damage. And because of that, that's very rough because they get the Baron and they get the inhib. This flank might be good, okay, double flank coming in. And they focus too much on the tanks and damage dealers. I don't think they can actually commit to this fight. Yeah, this is very, very bad for EDG. This might be the game. Like, the Kennen uses ultimate on a Dr. Mundo and a Trundle. There's no reason to ever do that. Like, they're not the carries, and unless he can get a clean ult on the LeBlanc and the Ezreal or either or and just completely one-shot them, then this is just complete grief. So I think at this point, this is actually EDG really, really showing that they bleed, because at this point, the Varus is huge. He's gone for a Bloodthirster as well, and he has a Ginzu's, because he's going for as much auto-attack damage as possible. Lulu has a Putrefy, so he doesn't need it. We're going to get replay of this steal. So there we go. Nearly 1,300. There's no way that they can ever steal that away, because Olaf can just like do pretty much 1,300. And then we see this big ult flank. It's on a Mundo who can't get CC'd anyway, and then he just flashes out. They get the Mundo flash, but Mundo's flash isn't really going to mean that much, and the Kennen ends up getting killed for it. Now, luckily the Xin Zhao does trim the wave there, so that's fine, but this is looking very, very bad for EDG now. Just because they've now got a... Oh, so they didn't actually get the inhib mid. Actually, it's not that bad. It's okay. They managed to stop them getting the inhib mid with those TPs, which I don't think that's worth the TP for, but it does actually restrict some of their Barons. So what they need to look to do is use this Baron buff now. Now, Ezreal does have a Frozen Heart here, which has an insane amount of value against... I mean, even Kennen, even though he's going to be using his ult and not using autos, but against the Xin Zhao and the Varus especially because the Varus is on hit, it's going to provide a massive amount of value if he's close enough. Now, Varus can also stay on the outside of the team fight and stay away from the Ezreal, who is also going to be on the edges of that team fight, poking out. So this kind of means that it might not even be in range to have effect on the Varus because of the range differences here. But if they ever end up in a kind of close quarters fight in the jungle, then it's going to actually become very, very useful. Now, they can instantly clear this out. Varus can actually clear waves very, very quick. I would like to see him get something like a Runans, but he's not going to. He's going to go with Stopwatch into maybe a GA, or he might just use the stopwatch and then sell it, just because GA is not really that good of an item, although he does have a 500 gold shutdown, so it might actually be beneficial this game, just to try and conserve that shutdown to stop them being able to do anything into it. So they did manage to get a pick with that Varus, which again, very, very good for them. And now they're just going to look to run them down. So that gets rid of a lot of their Baron pressure, and they didn't really do anything with that Baron. They didn't get an inhib, and they're not in a game-ending kind of situation from it. Leona managed to get a very nice catch. This Leona is actually playing insane. Like, she's playing so well. I'm going to put that in the pros. Some of the picks that he's got here are extremely, extremely good. So again, we're just waiting. Like, the LeBlanc shutdown is gone now. So what we're looking for now is this Ezreal shutdown to be handed on a plate to them. As soon as it is, then, you know, that's going to be very, very big. Like, they're just going to pop off. They're just waiting for this really, really big ultimate. So at this point, they're just re-establishing mid-prio. So now it's basically a fight for mid-prio because they need mid-prio now before they go for this Elder Dragon. If they get mid-prio, they can go, they can clear out vision. But bot lane is just completely losing. Now, the reason why this is happening is because inside of the laning phase, Lulu can be very, very oppressive against LeBlanc. But especially when LeBlanc is this fed, they don't really have anybody that can side lane against it because they have a Lulu who is primarily going to be a support this game. So now what they're ended up kind of in a situation is they can't really control the side lane against the LeBlanc. They have to look to try and force a fight while LeBlanc is pushing the side lane, but they're not going to have a window of opportunity to do it now because this wave's just been pushed in. They're going to lose all of this XP from it, and now LeBlanc can just roam up and get a pick. So this actually might be the game-ending play if they play this correctly. Mako's already extremely low. Viper gets chunked a little bit out by the LeBlanc, but nothing substantial. She's very scared in case anybody jumps on her, although she does have Banshee's Veil, so I think she's playing a little bit too conserved. But now the Lulu's used the Shrelia, the Xin Zhao's on top of him already. He's actually flashed over to get them. He does have his ult available so that he can avoid a lot of the damage that they're going to put out. Mako's really low though, but the Kennen gets an amazing flank on the back to kill the Ezreal. And then the rest of the team can just completely collapse on the LeBlanc now. So now what's going to happen is they're just going to basically re-establish this mid-prio, and then as soon as LeBlanc comes in, there's a stopwatch from Lulu that we previously said can save her. I don't know if she actually got Azonia's yet, that might have been Azonia's, but now EDG are actually in a somewhat favourable position if they can kind of heal up this Xin Zhao, which they can do off pretty much anything. So now they actually have a smite available, and they could potentially just look to force this fight and then reset. There we go, the zombie wall coming in again. LeBlanc jumps in, completely griefs that, and nearly gets one shot by the Varus actually. Now they're going to reset. I think they're going to start trying to force this dragon right here. There is a TP on the Lulu, so she can come. But the thing is, the Varus doesn't ever really need to back, so he can keep getting mid-prio. Same as Xin Zhao. Since they have so much healing in their kit, they can just heal up to full, and then they're basically in another team fight position. The only kind of worrying trend is that, you know, they are half mana right now, and they are fighting into full mana LeBlanc, for example, who is going to be able to do a massive amount of damage. They need Xin Zhao's ults back up because that's how long this kind of fight's gone on for. And as we can see there, those Lulu shields on Viper are massive. Now, if they drag this out, this is potentially really bad. Now, Dragon doesn't reduce resistances like Baron does, but it's still a very, very risky 50-50 to go, especially when an Olaf has previously stole an objective from you. So they're going to run him down now. Viper is actually allowed to just keep free hitting. The LeBlanc does jump on him, but he actually uses his flash to get away from her distortion. So that's very, very good for him. He actually survives from using that. Otherwise he would have got one shot there. And now they can look to just heal up off the dragon with all the lifesteal and the shields that they have. And then potentially look to re-engage this fight. So LeBlanc's gone in. She actually managed to chain the dragons, so she didn't actually get any of that damage on them, and now they're actually going to secure this Elder due to the fact that they thread it so quick with... Oh my god, the Ezreal stole it. No way. Ezreal just stole Infernal with a Q. Oh my god, that's literally just saved the game. This Ezreal's a smurf. Oh, it dropped down to 860. 860, and Xin Zhao didn't smite it. That's very bad because now this LeBlanc has everything that she needs, and this entire setup has just been completely griefed. Like, this jungle like difference is actually extremely large. Like, he's lost a Baron and an Elder in a embarrassing fashion, and now they're just gonna get the... No, okay, so they're not gonna go for it yet. Ezreal's gonna heal up. This is terrible in terms of for EDG. Like, they've been given this absolutely huge draft difference, and they've completely squandered it. And this Varus and the Kennen are really trying their hardest to win here, but I think it's very difficult for them to actually win this game out while this continues. Like, the Xin Zhao is completely griefing this game. I can't believe Ezreal stole out with a Q. So as we can see here, he Qs and it's on about 872, I think. 874 when the Q hit. No, I think it dropped to 669 when the Q hit. Surprising they didn't do that in slow motion, but this is very, very painful. So now EDG are basically having to just wait out this Elder and the Baron now. If they manage to bring this back, I'm going to be very, very concerned for WE. And that would probably explain why they're not Worlds as well. Okay, so they're coming for the Siege now. They're just going to get the inhib right now. They've got a nice wave stacking up top. Bot wave is... a little bit rough for them. They should have had somebody pushing it out with TP, although they don't have any TPs. They don't want to keep forcing mid here now. They just want to keep 4 here with Baron buff, just hitting these towers, protecting this cannon, while one person with Baron buff also goes top, pushes that wave, gets the top inhib, and then they end up just 5-man in bot with one person just pushing the supers. So I think this is where they're just completely griefing. And even though they're going to get one base Nexus tower, I really don't think this is going to be enough to win in the game, because they're pushing a wave that's already got supers while they have Baron, and they're completely wasting their Baron because they're relying too much on this Elder to try and kind of poke them out and force a fight. Now the problem is they don't really have a poke heavy comp, so it's literally just Ezreal and LeBlanc poking out, which Ezreal doesn't manage to get this, but an amazing flank in the back by Flandre. Like, this is insane, but they do have an Elder, so the flank is nice, and if they weren't playing against an Elder, it'd work, but they actually end up losing the game off this. This is really, really rough. They didn't lose that game off it. So this was, honestly, I'm not even kidding, this was just the Xin Zhao. So the GG completely griefed this game for them. Like, missing a Baron and an Elder at crucial times. Obviously, there is a case that they shouldn't be going for them while the enemy jungler is alive. But on the Elder, the Olaf didn't even get it. It was an Ezreal Q. And if they'd have got that Elder, then they would have won this game very, very easy. So that one miss smite ended up really losing them this game. So that's worrying. We are going to go into game 2 though. It's a shame because they had a really good draft here in my opinion, but they let the LeBlanc snowball, even though I don't know how she managed to get that off. It was just very good play from LeBlanc, and then Ezreal just managed to do a massive amount in the back. So overall, pretty good game, but very rough for the outcome.